Alright, today we're going to try to find out what is the best ammunition you can use in a 22 pistol for self-defense. So the first problem you run into, well, I guess not the first problem, a lot of people would say caliber size, but you know, if you use a 22 pistol for self-defense, I'm sure you have your own reasons and that's fine. You know, me personally, I prefer 9mm, but I also wouldn't hesitate to carry a 22 if that's all I had, or if that's all I could handle. You know, some people out there with arthritis problems, or some little old grannies out there carrying 22s, small frame females, whatever your reason may be. I'm going to try to find out what the best ammo is for you. So the problem, one of the problems you have using a 22, in my opinion, the biggest problem, is that out of a pistol at least, most hollow points will not expand. Now we have gel over here today, 10% ballistic gelatin. Got it on ice because the temperature is actually important, because optimal temperature for this stuff is 39 degrees for it to react properly. If you let it get too hot, you'll get over penetration. That's not realistic. I also got 4 layers of denim we're going to put in front of it, as is the FBI protocol to simulate thick clothing, and we'll see which of these expand out of the pistols, and also be able to gauge the penetration depth. So like I said, a lot of hollow points do not expand out of pistols, and that's due to the short barrel length. Generally all these listed velocities, like 1700 feet per second and 1400 and 1280 or whatever that says, that's out of the rifle barrel. The problem with the pistols and the short barrel is the longer barrel burns up all the powder as the bullet is exiting and keeps adding propulsion to that projectile. When you shoot it out of a short barrel like this, only a little bit of that powder burns up before the bullet exits, and then you're done. So the short barrels get a much slower velocity than what's advertised here, and those hollow points are generally designed to work at or around those velocities. So when you shoot them out of pistols at slower velocities, oftentimes, actually I would say most times, they do not expand. Barrel length plays a role in pistols as well, because right here we got this, what is this, like 2 something? It's brand new Heritage Barkeep, they call it. And then I got my TX22 here that's got a longer barrel. It's like 3 some inches. These rounds will go a little faster out of this gun than they will out of this gun. But I know there's some people that like to carry the 22 revolvers, and even the micro revolvers like that, that's going to have an even shorter barrel. And then some people might have something like this TX22 or something similar for home defense. So we're going to try to test both, because maybe we'll get some expansion out of this one, but maybe we won't out of that. So I'm trying to test that for you guys here with the short versus longer barrel on the 22 pistols. With that being said, this has influenced my ammo selection here, because to get expansion out of a 22 pistol, the higher velocity the better. So most of these being the highest velocity or higher velocity rounds you can get, we got a better chance for expansion out of short barrel. Some other one of these, they fragment, and then some other ones are just some heavyweights. So let me go over these real quick and we'll get started. So right here you got a fragmenting, segmenting, whatever you want to call it. This is just a heavy hitting hollow point, 42 grains heavier than normal at a high velocity. Yellow Jackets, they're like 1400 feet per second hollow points. Viper's basically the same thing, but with a flat nose there. These BPRs, these specific ones, 40 grain, high velocity. Same here, 40 grain, high velocity. These are segmenting mini mags. These are segmenting BPRs. Most people know Veloster and Stinger. High velocity, heavy bullet. High air velocity because of a lighter bullet. Then you got the segmented here. It's basically a Stinger, but it's segmented. Same grain, same velocity, but they're segmented, so they break into 3. You got your super extra here. It's just comparable to just a standard mini mag, not the segmenting one. Interceptor here, comparable to Veloster. Super maximum here, comparable to the Stinger. Some people like these, want to see these because it's such a heavy bullet. I mean, it's not a hollow point, but they might tumble or whatever, so we're going to run those too because some people would want to see them. Then you got the Interceptor with the flat nose, because if we do get expansion, it might not penetrate very far, so we'll try the same round but with a flat nose so it won't expand. And then I also brought these are fairly low power, but in my experience, these expand really well even out of pistols, at least with a long barrel pistol, so we're going to try those too. So I'm going to try to run these somewhat in categories. We're going to start out with just a standard CCI Blazer round nose, just as a baseline, so you can see what a regular lead round nose does, which is just going to zip right through it, not really do much. So all the segmented here, we'll do all the segmented in a row. Then these are all the heavier hitter hollow points, 40 grains or higher with 13 feet per second or higher velocity. We'll do all the Aguilas here. And then down here, I didn't really have a category for these, but we'll do the Stinger and then these with the Stingers as well. All right, well, I got 6 blocks, but you got to remember we got to have one on the back as a stop block, because some of these are going to penetrate further than 11 inches, which is how long my blocks are. And we'll take measurements and all of that. But my intention is to take a shot with this and then take a shot with this with each one of these. Let's see how that works out. It's going to be awful crowded. But let's start out with the Blazer, like I said. See what your typical round nose does. It's just going to zip right through. Okay, first shot was the revolver, like I said, which is a straight little zip, and the bullet stopped right there. We'll pull these out and examine them when I'm done. A little past 17 there. And then this was out of the pistol. See a lot bigger cavity there. I think it might have exited the block. I'm looking here.
I think that's the bottom one. See it curve up?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, this one came out the side. Let me fire another one out of that TX22 right under it. So I don't know if we got this cavity because it started to yaw a little, or if that was just from the velocity. Let's try one more. Curve clear out this side. So make sure it's down here, one of these two, and it went zoop. Curve clear right here, but we caught it. About 18.5 there. So since these are the slowest round, I'm going to go ahead and run those. But like I said, these seem to expand pretty well in pistols. If I could get some assistance, please, sir. Got this real long, drop it in the dirt hollow point. Anyways, there you go. Trunnicated hollow point, as they say. So I did want to note, you can see this one, even though it curved, which means that if it went straight, the path would actually be even longer. Even with this curve, it penetrated further than the short barrel. So you can see there's definitely a velocity difference there. We got more penetration out of the longer barrel pistol, and that even includes this curve, which in reality, if you straighten it out, it'd be even further. So there's definitely a velocity difference there between the two pistols. Okay, so as I said, I'm not gonna keep repeating this, so we'll shoot the Rough Rider with the short barrel first, and then TX22, and that's gonna be for the remainder of this test. I think we still got it. Maybe. Ah, I did it again, I think. I don't know. Let's see here. So that was the first one out of the Rough Rider, and I'm trying to figure out. I think I shot one out the edge again. Yeah, alright, let me take one more of those with the... Damn, I zoomed in the whole time and didn't tell. Rough Rider. Tape measure. 14. And then TX22 accidentally zipped out the side. Let me grab another one. As you can see, no expansion there. Alright, well, what happened this time? Had a little trouble finding this one. You see all the hits are up here in the center. But a lot of these are curving and such. Because this one, it came in clear on the bottom, so that's why I didn't see it at first. About 14 and a half there. And it does not look like it expanded. It looked like it turned around backwards. Nothing in the way of wound channels really yet. I mean, you're seeing some disruption there, but that's from multiple shots being in the same place. There's kind of a view of one by itself. It's just, I mean, they're like this. I don't know, I was thinking earlier having these over there, like, oh, I'm going to do all the Guila in the row. This will go with this. Again, these are Stinger, comparable. And then these are also heavy 40 grain, high velocity, should go with those. And these are kind of amongst themselves. So this is like a standard and then fragmenting. This is like your more typical high velocity hollow point. Like I said, comparable to a mini mag, a non-fragmenting mini mag. Let's go ahead and run these, and then I'll run this, and then we'll move on to some higher velocity stuff. So there's those. You can see most of the length is the bullet. Like I said, some people think these will work great because they're heavy, they're 60 grains. Also because of the length, they think they'll tumble. You should definitely test your accuracy with these though if you're using them, because typically accuracy is not that great because they tend to keyhole. Hit right there. Well, let me find it. Keep hiding on me. So, like I said, entry was somewhere around there. And right there it is. Oh, well, because it's so long, it's about 14 and a quarter. Alright, I'll try out the TX22 now. Yeah, you can see that one. Turn around. Turn around backwards on us there somewhere. $13 3/4. God, I can't see anything in the sunlight, but yeah, there it is. Okay, now the super extra 38 grain hollow point. Okay, so there it is there, turned around backwards, doesn't look like any expansion. Coming in about 16. I don't know why they keep arcing to the bottom, maybe I'm aiming down slightly. Now out of the TX. Put that one a little high, I think. No, it's right there, okay. Zip. Gotta find this one now. Hiding on the bottom again. That one's coming in just shy of 15, so even with the higher velocity, for some reason we get less penetration there. Still no expansion that I can see. So let's see, so far there's no expansion from any of them, so this is exactly what I was talking about, and it's why we're doing the test to see which ones expand. However, if you're going to be one of those that wants penetration, expansion is probably not going to be best for you, because when these do expand, they're probably only going to go to the back of this block, maybe a little further, depending on how much they expand. but we'll see what happens. We're going to continue going through them here. So we still got a lot of different rounds to try out, so I'm going to go ahead and do the segmented and the block we're using now. Then we'll switch to a fresh block for all these 40 plus grain high velocity, and then we'll switch to another fresh block for these. So let me go ahead and do these segmented and those blocks we're already using, and then we'll get a fresh block. So first up for the segmented, we'll run the mini mag. So it did fragment at least some, but it looks like there's a larger chunk of it there, so like maybe only part of it fragged off there, and then there's the biggest chunk of it. So it's supposed to split into 3 pieces, but it looks like we got 2 pieces that stayed together and 1 frag here. So well, let's try it out of the TX22 now and see if it does any better. Alright, so we just must have got lucky that it kind of broke up out of the Rough Rider, because out of the longer barreled TX22, right there it is, 15.5, didn't expand or fragment or segment or whatever at all. So those don't seem to work that great at pistol velocities. Alright, now the Browning. Okay, it says fragmenting, not segmenting, but fragmenting. It's got a little flatter surface on it, bigger hollow point there, so maybe this one will work. Alright, so it's a little hard to see. But there's the base, and you can see the tips missing. Base coming in 16, a little over. And it's hard to see, but there's 2 little tiny fragments. There's probably more, but we can see 2 for sure that fragmented off there, and then the base carried on through to 16. So that's interesting. Let's try it out with the TX22 now. Alright, so when I walked up here, this little piece is just sitting right there. There's a few extra fragments in there I can now see, and then clearly we have evidence of it right there. And then there's the base, 16 inches again. Alright, so here's the Winchester, 37 grain, 1400 advertised, segmenting hollow point. Okay, there's my entry. There's your permanent cavity. And you see this little zip right here? Piece is resting on the denim right there. So some of it fragmented. Go ahead and set it down. So pretty nice little cavity, the best cavity we had so far. And then there's the base. About 16 inches. So my impact, somewhere around here. It's hard to see really. Oh, slide that back. More. I'm not sure if those 2 pieces are from it. They look kind of new. Go ahead and flip it. But it came to rest right there. So this is 11 inches, so that's about 12 right there. So it didn't go as far, but it's definitely messed up. So after I fire this last segmenting round, we'll pluck all these out and take a look at them before we move on to the next ones. And there's the last segmenting, the CCI segmented. The older ones used to be called Quick Shock, I think. As of when I bought these, they're called segmented HP. Again, like I said, it's basically the Stinger bullet, but it's segmented, so it's supposed to break into 3 pieces instead of mushrooming. So I can't locate the other pieces right now, but there's definitely one right there. So it did segment. You got the measure. A little easier to see in the sun there, depending on the glare. Just shy of 6 inches, it looks like. I can't see myself in the camera here. All right. There's the cavity. was right next to one of those other ones, but you can see it opened up and you can see different paths. I think one of them like exited the side here, which might be why this is split now, because you can see there's a channel there. Channel goes this way, so maybe one exited out the top, but there's definitely a piece from it right there. Since that's getting so crowded there for this last segmented out of the TX22, I'm gonna try to hit a fresh area here, dead center, so maybe we can see it better and capture all the petals. Can you flip that without ripping it in half? Let's go ahead and flip it. So then, entry, there's one right there that, unless that's from one of the, you got one coming out right here. So that's what they do. I believe that's the furthest one, because it looks like, yeah, there's one right there. That wasn't one from earlier, was it?
I don't recall. I don't think it was.
So right here's another one, right next to it. And then that one traveled clear back here. Get the tape measure. Only like 2 or 3 inches for those, but then this one carried clear to 8. On a previous shot, we got 6 on the one that we found. So it seems like your depth on those is going to be all over the place. All right, there's what we got so far. These are the mini mags that were supposed to segment that did not. Those are some of those fragmenting rounds that did fragment, and then the base carried on. These are the Trunnicated hollow points, the low velocity ones by Winchester, I believe it was. Your 60 grain SS, pretty easy to spot. Those should have been the super extra Aguila right there. These were the CCI Blazer we just shot in it as a preliminary. Just your standard round nose. And then these were the fragments we just pulled out from the CCI segmented. So now we'll move on to these 40 to 42 grain heavy hitters. They're all 1,300 feet per second or more, 40 grain or more. So I'll just go ahead and start with the Interceptor, flat nose, and then we'll go hollow point and move on to the rest of these. So there is your flat nose, which is going to give you a little more punch than a round nose. Alright, got some decent tracks there. So the top one was first, if I remember correctly. 11 inches, well, that's 11 inches the back of this block. This sucker came out the side.
Yep.
18 inches in, it popped out the side there, so hopefully we caught the other one from the TX22. Just interesting because this is just a little zip, and then the wound track got real big, and I'm assuming that's because the bullet started to yaw apparently up and to the left, because you can see the track, it's going down slightly initially, and then it curves up and pops out the side. So we should have capture, I'm hoping, on this one, unless it just went through both blocks. There it is. Measure. Now my hand's in the way, just do what you can. Trying to keep it from flipping over.
Yeah.
17. Now the one we captured looks fairly straight. So, and you can see that starts right away. So I believe all that is just from that flat nose and the higher velocity causing that disruption. Whereas this one, from the Rough Rider with the short barrel, doesn't open up clear to here because it started to yaw. So now the Rough Rider basically did nothing and only started to do something because it started to yaw. Whereas this one appears to have been doing damage immediately, higher velocity with that flat nose, because it came to rest still facing forward, although slightly skewed. But there's no damage down here from the yaw. It's all right here from the velocity in that flat nose. All right, and then there's the hollow point version of what we just shot, which we're shooting now. So this one in somewhere close to that one. See this big cavity here though that's next to it from it. And there's the bullet. There you can see a little better up top. These two were in line, the flat nose, and then this was the hollow point one we just shot. Got the measure. So that's a decent cavity. You're covering it up there, but just past 14. Okay, flip it up. Doesn't look like expansion. Nope. So that's it, but no expansion. Let's try it out with the TX22. I hit on the edge there, which may exacerbate this a little bit, but you already seen that other one did a pretty decent amount there. But we hit the very edge there, but it stayed in the block. And I can see this, you get this little zip line here that's better than a lot of the ones that didn't expand. And we definitely got a mushroom right there at 17.5. So it penetrated further than that one that did not expand, and that's got to be because we struck the edge here. So I'm going to take another one a little further in to see if it'll still expand and also the penetration, because we messed that one up a little bit. I also think we hit the same hole here. What was that? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so that would have been the fourth shot, and we only got 3 holes. So it hit one of the same holes, so that's also probably why it expanded, because it didn't have the resistance of this denim, because it went through a hole that was already there. So I'm going to try to hit like around here somewhere, see what happens. Probably won't expand. Fresh hole, hit right there. There's your wound cavity. It's sitting in the block right there. About 15 inches, which is about as far as that one. It's slightly shorter. So maybe it, well, I can see it, it looks like it's backwards, so I think it tumbled around backwards, which is probably why it got a little less penetration, but no expansion. All right, we'll do the Veloster now. It's pretty much direct competitor to the Interceptor here. So we'll run this, then we'll go on to those. Flip it. Right there's your Veloster. No expansion. I can feel the tip right there. Get a measure. If I remembered how far those were, I could give you an estimate, but about 16.5. So let's try it from the TX22 now. Flip this one up. I must just see through that crap. Let me come around. Good. There's a Veloster. I believe that was the first one though. That might be the second one. Flip that. Oh shit. Clear down there. Skim the... I don't feel nothing on the table, but it's right there. And the nose is a little squished, 19.5 roughly. So both the noses look about the same. They are a little flattened out. We'll examine them when we're done here. I believe that extra distance though is from the extra velocity of the TX22. So as you can see, so far we're not getting any expansion from the hollow points, so that's why we're doing this. I want to find something that works, which might be one of these. Obviously the segment is split up, but then you lose your penetration, so I haven't tried these yet. I'm going to save those hopefully best for last. So we'll do Winchester and Browning here. So I'll do Winchester first. 40 grain, 1435 advertised, just like the Veloster. But it's a vastly different looking round. Definitely a bigger hollow point there, like the opening. Now if you're getting some of these, you got to be careful, because the box looks exactly the same, but like they have a hollow point that's only 12 or 1300 feet a second, and it's less than 40 grain. These are specifically 40 grain at 1435 hyper velocity, but the other ones, the packaging is exactly the same, and I believe the same for Browning as well. It's that little cavity, so it doesn't really look like it opened up. Go ahead. Right there. Got the measure. And you know, I might actually. I think it's that one. Yeah, that wasn't there before. 16 and a half. I'm pretty sure that's the one. If it's that one, then it's 17 and a half, but I'm almost positive that wasn't just there. Somewhere around in there. I think it kind of conjoined with those. So that's a shot previous to the one we just did. I believe it's right there. Well, maybe this?
Right here.
Huh? Oh, did it expand and it's actually in there? Yeah, it's right there. You got the tape measure? About 9.5, 10 there. It actually expanded out of the TX22. 9.5, 9.75 is what I'm seeing. Cool, so it actually expanded with the higher velocity from the TX22. Alright, then here's the BPR 40 grain 1435, which this is either a Federal or a Winchester that's just rebranded, but I can't remember which. Alright, still doing center shots here. We came in right there. Since, yeah. Put this one up. Don't see nothing there, so it should be in here. Right there. Backwards. So this 11-inch block, so that's like 11.5, 12 right there. Alright, let's try it from the TX22 now. Yeah, I do believe that's it. So you can kind of see it there towards the top. About 15 inches. And that might have went a little further. This one definitely looks like it spun around backwards, the first one out of the Rough Rider. That one might have went a little further because we're hitting, got 3 in the same spot here. So that might explain why it went a little further. But definitely didn't expand. Alright, the last heavy hitter, 42 grain, 1320 advertised. Big nose, big hollow point there, and then we'll move on to this lighter, faster stuff. Holy crap, went out the back.
I thought I seen something bounce off the ground.
So 11.11, that's 22 inches. So that heavy weight and apparently no expansion helped it carry right through both blocks. Try it out of the TX22 now. And that was its own fresh spot right there. It wasn't down here with these 3, so it just zoop all the way through. Yeah, definitely some damage there because it expanded apparently. And that's going to be about 10 inches. Alright, 11. These are tapered, so if you measure from the top, it's 11 front to back. See, if you measure from this part, it's 12 from the front to the back. So anyways, we're coming at 11 inches there, so it's hard to see, but it must have expanded or something. So we still got some good block here on this right side, so I'm going to go ahead and do a few of the next category in here before we move on to the next block. Alright, so the Vipers, they're 1400 feet per second with that flat nose, and it's trunnicated. And then also it's got kind of a sharp edge on it. If I get this dang thing open, so I think that might tumble. So we'll see what those do. Ah, they go off the side.
Yep.
Damn it.
I win.
Take another one. It came out the side there. Nice cavity right there though. 16.5 exited. Let me try again with the Rough Rider, see if we can get one to stay in with the Rough Rider. And then we'll go TX. Ah, that's it. Traveled down, stopped right there. 11 inches. So that one tumbled. Right there it is. And had it not hit the table, I don't know how far it would have went. But, you know, I can't really control that. It came in straight and it just wanted to zip straight down. I had a feeling these would tumble. This one didn't seem to do it till about right here, and then I don't know. Let's try one with the TX22, see what happens. I think there. So somewhere in here we came in. This one stayed straight and went 16 inches. So they seem to be tumbling out of the Rough Rider. But the TX22, at least on that one, it just shot it straight and then it ended right there. Because it didn't yaw or anything, there's not really an extravagant wound channel or anything. That was previously from that one that expanded. So we came in somewhere in here and stopped right there. Alright, well, we brought some centerfire rounds we're trying to test also, so I'm trying to save those last two blocks for that. So we spun. This was the back block, that was the entry. So we spun and flipped that. This was the entry block. We flipped that or whatever. It might have already been sitting that way. So everything was coming in this way. So now we're going to use this as the catch block, which I don't really think any of those rounds we have left are really going to penetrate that far. So, well, I could be wrong, but we'll see. Anyways, let's try to do the remainder in here. So now we'll do the Yellow Jackets. These are 33 grain hollow point, 1500 feet per second advertised. So out of a rifle, these pretty much just fragment like crazy and blow up. So we'll see what they do out of the pistols. So that should be it right here, 13.5. There's a big stinking hollow point, like mushroom right there. Yep, about the same distance as the other one. 15.5. Alright, so there's your Stinger, 32 grain hollow point, advertised 1640 from a rifle. Let's see what it does. And then we'll do these, which are a little faster because they're a little lighter. So this is flipped up, but you can see it was arching down. Came to rest at 16 inches, very bottom. Did not expand, so that's why it got 16 inches of penetration. Went higher on that one, trying to be able to see it. Which, right there's the hit. Right there's the entry. And right there it is. Measure. Not expanded again. Nice little permanent right there though. Not very deep, about 4 inches. And 16 inches. So that's just from the higher velocity, but it still didn't expand. Alright, last one. Super maximum. 30 grain, 1700 from a rifle. Let's see if these expand. Did I get that one or did? Okay, good. It curved in. So, what the heck happened there?
Backwards.
Okay, so that one flipped. 14 inches. So yeah, I don't really know what the heck happened there. Alright, so we figured out what happened. What was in there was this, which is one of those Vipers. It hit that, which is why it did all that. And then it came out the top right here because it then struck this one. And, okay. So that's what happened there with the first one from the Rough Rider. But considering through the TX22, we came right here, was it? It's one of these two. There's no expansion, so if it didn't expand out of the TX22, it's not going to expand out of the Rough Rider either. So that's what happened. It struck this one in there, then it struck that, came out the top, but there would be no expansion from that. Alright, I apologize. I got a little lost here because we shot so many. Basically, none of these performed. This was that one that went through the same hole, the denim, and off to the side, so that's the only reason it mushroomed so nice. And we redid it and it didn't mushroom, so that was that one clear on the side that went through the same denim hole. All of these failed. These were the Yellow Jackets. One of them expanded freaking awesome, and then this was the other one. I can tell by the collar because it's a golden, it's got that gold hue to it. So then this one didn't open. So whatever round, and I'll try to go through my footage here and enter it here. Whatever one of these copper hollow points, copper plated hollow points, you can see the copper there, that expanded. Both of them expanded. Whichever one of those, we got a real nice expansion out of them. Looks like both of them expanded.
Alright, so it was at that point that my camera died on me, so we weren't able to finish the conclusion at the range. So back at the house here, it's the next day. So those two that I was pointing out at the end there, what had occurred was one of those was the Winchester 40 grain at 1435, and the other was the Browning BPR 40 grain at 1435. And what happened, we had one of each that expanded, and then one of each that also did not expand. So from both that Winchester and Browning, one failed to expand and one did expand. So off camera, because the camera died, I fired two more of each of those into the block out of the TX22 only, and I had the same results again. One expanded from each and one did not. So it's about 50-50 whether or not you're going to get expansion through 4 layers of denim with those. And those are those two here. One set is the Browning and one set is the Winchester. You can see they look and perform pretty much the same. So that's what those did. I was getting about a 50% success rate, 50% failure rate. And then as I was discussing, this was the Yellow Jacket. One expanded beautifully, one did not expand. These might be alright, those fragmenting ones, where the base carried through and the front fragmented, but those fragments were so small and so shallow, I don't know what really that's gonna damage that's going to do realistically, because these segmenting ones, the fragments that came off of all those fragmenting rounds that actually did fragment like they were supposed to, and then where the base carried on to an acceptable depth, the fragments were about 1/5 of the size of these segments here. So I don't know what those itty bitty little pieces are really going to do to someone or something. So you have to take that into consideration if you thought that these were really good rounds. And then this one, okay, so the last one we fired was the Aguila Super Maximum, Super Extra, whatever it was, the fastest one we shot last, 1700 feet per second out of a rifle. First shot bounced and went out, and then the second shot, no expansion whatsoever out of the TX22 with higher velocity. So we concluded that no expansion, right? Well, I also fired 2 more of those off camera, and I dropped and lost the other one, but 2 consecutive shots in a row mushroomed exactly like this out of the TX22, whereas in the video we didn't get expansion. So it would seem like a lot of these rounds, some of them will expand and some will not. It seems to be that you got around a 50-50 percentage, at least with some of them. Like I said, half the Winchester 40 grain at 1435 expanded, half the Browning did the same thing, and then apparently the Aguila Super Maximum did the same thing, because the one I fired in the block that we captured did not expand at all from the TX22, and then off camera I shot 2 more into it and they both expanded exactly like this. So it seems to be hit or miss. So in conclusion, if you can get these Super Maximums to expand, then it's a very good round as far as 22 goes. The same could be said for these. I believe that was 13 inches of penetration we got, and it's probably the biggest mushroom we got out of any of them. But then also we had some failures. Same with the Super Maximum, the Winchester and the BPA, the Browning, the 40 grain at 1435 for both of them. When they expanded, they expanded awesome, but you got a 50% chance of expansion there. And then these, like I said, well, for one, the segments didn't travel very far, so I don't know how you want to feel about that. But it was cool that these fragmented and then the base carried to an acceptable depth. But I just don't know how much damage those little fragments are going to do, like I said. But at least the base carries pretty far. The non-hollow point interceptor with that flat nose did pretty good. So that might be a viable option as well. It did better than the hollow point because the hollow point didn't expand and had a more rounded nose than the non-hollow point one did with its flat nose. And then the Stingers too, they had a decent wound channel just because of the sheer velocity, same as these. But we actually got, well, again, it was off camera, but I actually got these to expand, and none of the Stingers expanded, though I suppose that's not a fair comparison because I shot 4 of these total, 2 off camera, and I only shot 2 total of the Stingers, so it's not giving it the same opportunity. But I can tell you from watching other gel tests with pistols that I haven't seen the Stinger expand, so I wouldn't count on it to expand. So you can draw your own conclusion. I mean, you guys can see everything that happened in the video, every round, what it did. Me personally, so if I was going to carry one of these loads, it seems like the best hollow points only have a 50-50 chance. So I basically got everything that performed the best here, and like I said, there's pros and cons to each one. Like those fragmented like they were supposed to, but then the con is it's itty bitty pieces, and then the base doesn't do anything. Even though it travels far enough, it doesn't do anything after the tip fragments to really cause much damage. These were about 50-50, these were about 50-50, these were about 50-50, these were about 50-50. So those are the hollow points I would go to, and at this day and age it'd be basically any one of those that you could find, because you know it's hard to find stuff right now. But given the choice, so before I give my pick here, I just wanted to point out that somehow we forgot about the 42 grain Winchester at 13 something that mushroomed real nice out of the TX22. So that one was also 50-50. And it didn't expand out of the Rough Rider, but it did expand out of the longer barrel of the TX22. The same as those two groups off to the left side of the picture there, the Winchester 40 grain at 1435 and the Browning 40 grain at 1435 in the video did not get expansion from the Rough Rider with its shorter barrel, but did get expansion from the TX22 with the longer barrel and higher velocity. So this would seem to indicate that the higher velocity is helping them expand reliably, except for the fact that, as I mentioned off camera, I fired two more of each of those sets on the left, and they were both fired out of the TX22 only at that point, and at that point I had a 50% failure rate. So the higher velocity definitely seems to help it, but it's still not a guarantee that you get expansion. Oh, and one last thing, all those hollow points mentioned just now, when they expanded, they only penetrated to about 10 or 11 inches, so that's something to consider as well. However, the Yellow Jacket, the one that expanded on that, went to 13 inches, and then also those Aguila Super Maximums that I got to expand off camera, they also went to about 13 inches. So they penetrated further when they expanded than those others just mentioned did when they expanded, and I believe that's due to the higher velocity. That is, the higher velocity that those rounds are advertised at over the others. Given the choice, I would honestly probably go with the Super Maximum because just because of sheer velocity, like I said, it's no better expansion than these. It's no better chance of expansion than these because they both, some failed to expand and some did expand. But at least with this one, when it did not expand, so if every other shot doesn't expand, you had a larger permanent wound cavity from this when it didn't expand because of the higher velocity than you did with these. So that's honestly probably what I personally would go with. And like I said, those Interceptor flat nose ones, the non-hollow points, those did pretty well as well. But honestly, the wound channel from those matched the wound channel from this when it didn't expand. And then when you do get expansion, you would obviously get even better results. But like I said, that's just my opinion. You guys can view for yourself what each round did and make you come to your own conclusion based off of that. But I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave me a like. Check out the 22 playlist on the channel. I got a bunch of other 22 tests, even including gel tests as well. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.